The first meeting of the Fed for 2026, gold versus cash in your money market account, and should you declutter your retirement accounts? All that and more on Retirement, Everything They Never Told You. I'm Joe Werbick, Certified Financial Planner.
And I'm Doug Harding. I'm Joe's co-host. And Joe, we got to start off the show today. Well, we got a lot. You just teased a whole lot of that, but
well, there's always a lot going on in the world, Doug. That's the issue. You know, we do this once a week. You know, they have 24-hour news channels out there, and we're just touching on topics once a week. So yeah, there's a lot to cover.
Well, we get the condensed version because 24-hour news is the same story repeatedly and breaking it down repeatedly and overanalyzing it repeatedly. But you just mentioned the Fed and Jerome Powell, so there's new stuff going on. There's a whole lot of meetings.
New, old, same old, same old. Look, every year the Fed has about 8 meetings. Looks like Chairman Powell, Jerome Powell, Chairman Jerome, yeah, same guy. Jerome. He's been with us for nearly 4 years. His term's up in April, so he'll probably get meetings in the first 2 meetings this year. And then we'll probably have a new chairman, and we'll see what happens with that. We got 2 Kevins fighting it out. Both of them have kind of said to Trump that they will lower interest rates. So good, bad, indifferent, that's probably what's going to happen this year. But this meeting today is going to be kind of boring. We don't expect rates to go down. All we're looking for is, what does he feel about the future? Do we expect to get 1, 2, maybe 3 rate cuts in 2026? But again, that'll all change in April when we get the new Fed chairman. Other things to talk about real quick. Stock market is having a phenomenal year so far. It's 2026. We're coming to the end of January. The Dow Jones is up 1.28%. Then S&P 500 is up 1.75%, and the NASDAQ is up nearly 3%, 2.9% just in 2026 alone. If you annualize that out, you're looking at a 14% return. You're looking at a 20% return in the S&P, and you know, a 30% return in the NASDAQ. Now, I'm not saying that's how the markets work, and you just take 1 month return and multiply it by 12. But historically speaking, when you start out strong, the year typically continues to be strong. And what have I been saying? Week after week after week, the economy's good. The markets look good. And so you should be positioned properly for that to occur. Just wanted to hit those high notes, Doug.
Okay. Well, you're mentioning the stock market. Are you surprised that the market is doing this well?
Not at all. No.
Okay.
Nothing about this surprises me because I look at the fundamentals. I look at the demographics. I don't listen to the news because the news is just going to lead you astray. Number one, they aren't good at what they do in terms of what's happening in the market. Economists are terrible at predicting what's going to happen in the market. I just look at trends, and demographics are strong. It's simple. This entire economy is based on spending. Period. End of sentence. If we stop spending, the stock market drops. If we increase spending, companies make more money, they're more profitable, and stock values go up. We have more adults than ever before in the history of the country spending more money for the next decade, and that is just going to continue to drive this market forward. Doesn't surprise me at all. Now, there will be blips along the way. You can't have a market that just goes straight up. You're going to have sell-offs. You're going to have events that are going to cause turmoil. But it happens, but I'm not surprised, Doug. I'm excited. I'm excited.
That's great. I like your optimism on the market. So, all right. So the market's doing great. So how do we position ourselves? And especially if we're thinking about retirement, is it time to seize the day?
Well, I have some favorite sayings.
Okay.
And I always wanted to be that guy that had a saying, you know? And I've developed a bunch over the years. But I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is farming community. And I got a lot of these sayings from my clients, which a lot of them were farmers. And so a lot of my sayings are farm-related sayings.
Okay.
So make hay when the sun shines, you know? The stock market's doing well. You should have a portion of your portfolio in an area that is doing well in the stock market, which is right now you should be in growth stocks. I don't know if I'd be in value as much, but you should be in more growth-related investments that are going to take advantage of this upswing in the market. We know that Powell's going to, or whoever the new chairman is, going to lower interest rates. That's going to drive technology stocks forward. Why? Because tech-heavy stocks rely on low-cost loans to drive research and development and to hire new employees and to expand their companies. So again, all of this points into that direction. But mentioning Powell, he's going to go away in April. And when I think about April, I think about taxes.
Okay. Oh, that's
and
right. That's coming up.
As much as I love to make my clients money, I'm here to say, Doug, any advisor can probably make you money. Heck, AI might be able to make you money. I don't know. I'm just saying. You could probably pick a few mutual funds, and when the markets are strong, you're going to make money. If you're working with an advisor and all they're doing is quote unquote making you money, maybe you should look for somebody who's going to be a planner for you. Maybe you should look at somebody who's going to look at your future income streams. You're going to look at taxes. April's coming up. You're going to owe taxes. We're going to have to pay taxes. And as much as it pains me to say, those taxes are going to be there every April for the rest of your life, even when you're retired. And I had a great first appointment with a couple this week. And they said at the opening of the appointment, because they watched my television show.
Right.
And they said, but Joe, we were told, and it was ingrained in their head, that when we retire, we're going to be in a lower tax bracket. And if you haven't saved anything, that's probably true, Doug.
Yeah.
If you are not a big saver, if you're watching this right now and you haven't put money in a 401k, you haven't put money in a Roth IRA, you haven't started, you're in your 50s, your 60s, you're going, oh my God, what am I going to do? You're probably going to retire to a lower tax bracket because you haven't saved. On the flip side, if you put a bunch of money away, if you've been a diligent saver, if you've been putting 10, 12, 15% of your earnings away every year, and you've been doing it all pre-tax, that I'm looking you right in the eye, I'm talking directly to you, you will not retire to a lower tax bracket. It's not going to happen. You are stuck in a higher tax bracket or a potentially even higher one. Maybe you're going to go from the 22 to the 24. Maybe you're going to go even higher into the 30s because you saved so much money. So if that's you out there and you're working with an advisor who's just making you money and they're not talking about taxes, I mean, Doug, what would you say is a good return on an annual basis in the stock market?
Maybe 7%.
7, 8? What would be a great return?
Oh, I'd love to get 15, 20%.
Yeah. What are the tax brackets we're in?
Ooh, that's if you do it that much, you're gonna be definitely be in a higher tax bracket, right?
But our tax brackets are like 20, 22, 24%. So you're saying if I got a great return in the stock market, I might make 15%. But my taxes could be 22, 24%, 30%, 37%. Do you see where I'm going with this? What's more important? If you can get a great return in the stock market, but if you can eliminate those higher taxes, if you can eliminate the 22%, the 24%, the 37% tax bracket, I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars saved in taxes. And then what you can do is you may not have to be as aggressive with your investments. You can maybe dial that back a little bit. So I'm just saying, if you're out there, if you've saved, you're watching the right show, we're going to show you how to retire tax-free. And speaking of taxes, April's coming up, Doug.
Yeah.
And, what does that mean to you when you think about taxes in April? What does that bring up for you?
It brings up, I know I'm going to be paying a lot in taxes. Yeah. but I know, because I'm really frugal. I kind of get freaked out, but I have to think positively on this because, all right, my IRA is making some significant gains. So that's how I calm myself on paying thousands of dollars.
Doug, we've been together for not that long. I mean, maybe 6 months. Did you say your IRA?
I did.
If you still have an IRA, then I have not done my job. Oh,
Why?
Man. Because it's tax deferred. It's going to cost you money. Everything we talk about every week on this show, you need a Roth IRA. You need to get rid of that IRA. But anyway, I digress. So when tax time comes around, you probably want to pay less taxes.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are some ways that people can pay less taxes in any given year? Can you think of some easier ways that people can maybe lower their taxable income?
Well, you said Roth right there, so that's one, isn't it?
Well, Roth will lower your taxable income in the future. It's not going to help you today.
Oh, okay.
And that's the hard part about it. We live in a society where we want instant gratification. And your accountant, your CPA, they want instant gratification because their job is to lower your taxes in 2026. And then next year in 2027, when we're in 2027, okay? My job is to lower your taxes for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And so your CPA and I are not going to see eye to eye because they're going to think about today and I'm going to think about the rest of your life. But I keep getting ahead of myself. Heading into 2026, we're heading into tax time. What are some things that you can do? If you think about it, Doug, what are some things you think you could do to lower your taxes this year? Some quick, easy ways to do it.
To lower my taxes, maybe I can take more out of my paycheck.
You mean that would be back in the IRA.
Okay.
Pre-tax, yeah. I was thinking along the lines of, maybe giving some money to some people.
Oh, charitable donations.
There you go. Yeah, charity. Charity's a great way. And when you think about it, you get bombarded with this, especially the more successful you are. You're going to get bombarded with, hey, give money to this organization and that organization. And I want you to do that. I'm a huge believer in giving back to your community. If you're successful, you should be giving back. But I want you to also benefit from that. And the issue is, we have in our tax code now, we have the largest standard deductions ever. We're talking $16,000 a person standard deduction. Married couples, $32,000. That means that you get, if you're single, the first $16,000 you earn doesn't get taxed. If you're married, $32,000. If you're over 65 and you're making less than $150,000 a year, you get an extra $12,000. You're at $49,000 of standard deductions. Why am I saying this? Because if you have a standard deduction and you donate money to charity, if that donation is less than your standard deduction, you don't get to write it off. You only get to write off that charitable donation if it exceeds your standard deduction. And, I want you to give money, but most people aren't given more than $16,000 if they're single, or $32,000 if they're married, nearly $50,000 a year if they're over 65. That is an exorbitant amount of money to be giving away.
Right.
So I want you to give money away and I want you to get a tax break. So how do we do this? Well, if you're over 70 and a half, you give it out of your IRA. It's that simple.
Okay.
So we have permanently embedded in our tax code now QCDs, qualified charitable deductions. I like to say qualified charitable donations. That's not what it stands for. But anyway, so a QCD will allow you to take money out of your IRA if you're 70 and a half, 71, 72. Take money out of your IRA, tax-free, give it to a charity. And you say, well, how does that help me? That lowers the value of your IRA for future required minimum distributions. Huge benefit. You're not going to get a deduction, but you're going to lower the value of your IRA. Now, when you hit 73, when I say 73, what does that mean to you, Doug? 73 right now in the IRA.
That reminds me of RMDs.
Required minimum distributions. People say to me, why? Why does the government have these RMDs? What are these RMDs? I didn't even know I had RMDs. The government is tired of waiting on you to pay taxes. You might have started your 401k at 20. And now we're talking about from 20 to 73. That's 53 years. You never paid a dime in taxes on any of that money. And they are impatient and they don't want to wait any longer. So they say, hey, 73, you have to take required distributions. We're going to force a large distribution. That distribution is going to be taxable. It's going to cause your Social Security to pay taxes. It's going to cause maybe your Medicare premiums to go up. It may cause you to pay extra income taxes. It's ugly, ugly, ugly. But you can do a QCD against your RMD. So you can do a qualified charitable deduction after age 73 that will dollar for dollar lower your required minimum distribution. So again, It's not a tax deduction. It's a reduction of your taxable income. Huge opportunity, massive opportunity. So if you're over 70.5 and you're giving any money away to charity, stop and only do it out of your IRAs. And you can't do it out of your 401k. Did you know you're not allowed to do a QCD out of a 401k, Doug?
Didn't know that.
They won't let you. So that means that you have to get that 401k over into an IRA. Heck, when you leave your job, you should do that anyway. But this is a massive tax savings. I mean, I've seen people save. I had a couple that we just did QCDs for them, and it saved them almost $400,000 of taxes in retirement.
Whew.
Just by doing donations that they were going to do anyway, but we did it out of their IRAs. So you don't want to forget about this because this is huge. Now, when you think about charity, you also maybe think about leaving money behind to a charity. Have you ever thought about that, Doug?
Yeah, I have. I've thought about it, but I haven't put that plan into motion yet. So it's in the back of my mind, Joe.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you haven't put it in motion because what a lot of people will do is they do it through their will. They say, hey, let's leave money to charity. And the easiest way to do that is when we draft our will, we'll let's give 10% to the church or some money to our college or whoever it is you want to support. That's great. I want you to support who you want to support. But never, ever, ever leave money to a charity through your will. Worst absolute place you can do it. You should never do that, Doug.
Why is that?
Because the assets that pass through your will, most often, your house, your car, the stuff inside your house, your checking, your savings accounts, maybe mutual funds, if you have mutual funds out there and they're not in an IRA, all of those assets get what is known as a step up in cost basis. What that means is the house that you bought, maybe you bought it back in 1980 for $100,000 and now it's an $800,000 house. That house, when you die, the cost basis goes up to the current value, which means when your beneficiaries inherit it, they have a brand new cost basis, which basically means if they want to sell it, there's no taxes. So why would you assign a tax-free asset to a charity that doesn't pay taxes? It's not proper planning.
Never thought of that.
Because then you're assigning taxable assets. Maybe you're saying, oh, I'm going to put charity in my will, but then I'm going to leave my IRA to my kids. Well, you just gave a tax-free asset to an organization that doesn't pay taxes, and then you just took a taxable asset and gave it to your kid who has to pay taxes. So you want to flip-flop that around, and if you're going to give any money to charity, which you should, big believer in that, make sure you do it outside of your will. Do it in your IRAs. Great place to leave money. Did you know that they just increased the federal estate tax exemption amount for 2026?
No, I did not know that. I'll leave that up to you.
Do you even know what the federal estate tax exemption is?
No, I don't, unfortunately.
Oh, come on. So,
Joe, I'm learning this stuff too.
That's great. No, I love this. Yeah. This is awesome. So the federal estate tax, it's been around forever, long time. Back in the 80s, it was as low as $184,000. What did that mean? That meant back in the 80s, if you died with an estate over $180,000, you paid a federal estate tax. Today, the federal estate tax rate is 40%.
Wow.
Back in the 80s, it was 40, 50%. That meant that anything over $180,000 was taxed at 40 to 50%.
I don't like that.
No. So what happened? The Republicans got together and they said, hey, we don't like this. This is not good for wealthy people to be taxed this much. What they did was they said, if we say federal estate tax, no one's going to care. Because nobody's going to think that they have an estate tax because they don't have an estate. So they changed it to the death tax. And everybody got excited about that because everybody's going to die one day. And so people picketed in the streets, down with the death tax, down with the death tax. So back in the 80s, it was $180,000. In 2026, Doug, you are allowed to leave $16 million each person. So $15 million. So $30 million is what you're allowed to leave. So
I don't
So
have that
basically, that's less than that's about. There's about 275,000 people in America with estates over that amount. So we're talking about less than 1%, 1/10 of 1% of Americans will have to worry about this. So if anybody says, "Hey, you need a trust to avoid the federal estate tax," if you have more than $30 million, yeah, you probably need a trust. If you have less, you don't need a trust. Just things to think about when we're talking about taxes, because I hear it all the time. I need the trust to avoid federal estate taxes, and I'm looking at their account and they got $1 million. I'm like, you guys are doing well, but you don't have 30 million. So you probably don't have to worry about it. Yeah, you know, just fun stuff to talk about.
Well, okay, I'm going to go back a little bit because I had a question I wanted to get in here real quick is with charitable donations. Now, if I write a check myself and I give it to the charity, how do I do the taxes? Or is it easier to say you do that for me to do the taxes with it? Also, maybe take it right out of my IRA.
So if you're under 70 and a half, you can't take it out of your IRA. And if you're going to give money to charity, great, but you're probably not going to get a deduction for it because it's probably going to be under your standard deduction.
All right.
Now, if you have large other areas, maybe you had a lot of health bills this year, and maybe you paid a lot of interest on your home and you paid a lot of local taxes, maybe all of that combined could get you close to that $16,000, and then your charitable donation would count. But that's what you do at tax time is you look and say, okay, what deductions do I have? I got interest on a car, maybe. I have interest on my home, on my mortgage. I have taxes that I paid to local taxes, state taxes. And they add all that up and I made charitable donations. If all of that together exceeds that $16,000 per person, then you get to write it off. And it doesn't matter how you donate the money at that point. You just write a check to charity, you keep a receipt, and you get that, hopefully, deduction if it exceeds that standard deduction. I just rarely see that happen just because standard deductions are so big right now. I mean, like I said, if you're over 65, it could be $49,000, which is great and a huge planning tool, something we should be using every single year to lower your taxes now and lower your taxes in the future. But when it comes to charity, I hate to say it, most of you are just going to give out of the kindness of your heart and you're not going to get a write-off for it. But that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Do you think that a lot of people actually do that? They do that just out of the goodness of their heart, but they don't realize that they could actually save money on taxes if they do it a different way?
I think most people don't understand anything about taxes, unfortunately.
Well, and that's why we're doing this show, Joe, because I'm learning stuff too. I'm not a financial advisor.
I've said it before, Doug, the Internal Revenue Code is 72,000 pages long. If you think about a ream of paper, have you ever filled a copier or a printer up with paper?
Oh, of course I have, yeah.
So that's a ream. That's 500 pages, right? That's about that thick.
Yeah.
So 1,000 pages might be maybe that thick for 2 reams, right? What happens if I multiplied that by 72?
You'll probably put me to sleep within the first 20 pages.
It wouldn't even fit in your bedroom. The book would be probably, I don't even know how high that would be. And there's no way you're going to read it all. And I haven't read it all, but I focus on the areas that matter to me, the section 72, section 72. There's some great sections out there that relate to retirement. And I go to training events once or twice a year where that's all we spend. We just spend hours and hours on tax law because it's important to my clients. So I need to be up on the most, I wouldn't say advanced, but the most recent tax law changes so that I can make sure my clients are getting the best advice.
Yeah. Well, I would pay somebody handsomely to handle those taxes. For me, that's just too much for the average person to digest, and that's why and Joe, you love these taxes. I've never met anybody in my life that loves taxes more than you. So, saving money on taxes.
Getting out of taxes. That's what I love. I love reducing taxes. I love eliminating taxes. I love, I hate clutter. Doug, I hate it. I'm a type of person that I want everything organized. If I walk into a room and things aren't organized, I have to organize that. I can't sit around if a book's out of place or if there's a piece of paper on the floor or if anything isn't where it's supposed to be. It drives me crazy. And a cluttered tax return drives me crazy too. I don't want my clients to have line after line after line of numbers. I want there to just be a few numbers on there. And then I want the number at the bottom to say 0. So clutter drives me crazy, Doug. I don't like it.
Hey, it's funny you bring up clutter because you don't want to see my studio right now. I must have 1,000 sticky notes just all over the place and it drives me crazy, but I kind of know where everything is. But hold on, here's where I'm going with this is,
okay.
When I start to clean up, I find things that I have forgotten, I've left behind. I'm like, oh, wow, I should have known this was here. I should have taken care of this earlier. And I can't be alone in this, Joe. I cannot at all.
I'm not like that, Doug. You know that there's currently, I forget the number. I have a YouTube video out there. Maybe we'll throw the video up here on the screen. There's currently over multiple trillions of dollars in lost 401ks.
Really?
People have just forgotten that they had 401ks. And they're just sitting out there earning interest and the person has no idea they even exist.
Joe, I have to admit something else to you now. 30 years ago, when I was starting off my radio career, I was working in a restaurant and we got offered a 401k. And the company has since gone away. And for 30 plus years, I've had an orphan 401k and I can't track it down anywhere. And I have no idea 30 years later what that could be worth right now.
That's scary, Doug.
It's a bummer.
What do you mean you can't track it down?
I have gone on websites, I've talked to people, and nothing. Multiple times. Yeah.
Well, I will send you a link to that video because there are 3 different sites that I talk about in that video where you can find that 401k, Doug. I'm going to send that to you this week. You're going to go on those 3 sites and you're going to tell me if you were successful or not.
Okay. That sounds great.
It's important because if you don't find that, the IRS knows it exists. And so what's going to happen when you hit RMD age is they're going to expect you to know the value of that 401k, and then they're going to penalize you if you don't take the required distributions out from it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
You didn't think about that, did you?
I did not think about it.
Yeah, they know it exists, Doug, and they're not going to tell you where it is.
Of course not. They want all my money. But Joe, I can't be alone on this. There's got to be millions of people just like me out there that are missing their 401ks. Come on.
I don't know if they're missing their 401ks as much as they have too many 401ks.
From going
I'm seeing
job
this
to
become
job.
a trend. I'm seeing very successful people who have high-paying jobs, and they work for a company, say they work for them 5-10 years, and they put a lot of money in that 401k, and then they change jobs. And then they work for that company for 8-9 years. They put a lot of money in that 401k, and then they change jobs, and then they change jobs. And by the end of the day, they're sitting on 3, 4, 5 different 401ks. And you pick up a statement, and you look at, okay, I got X number of dollars in that account, and then you pick up a statement over here. Okay, well, I have that much money in that account. And you may have never added it all together. It's amazing. On my software, I have a 1-page report that I show my clients. And when I add up all of their assets, I'd say 80-90% of the time they had no idea they had that much money. Because it was statement after statement after statement after statement, sometimes 20, 30 different statements. And 50,000 here and 100,000 there and 150,000 there and 25,000. That adds up. And if you don't know how much you have no idea when you can retire. You have no idea what your income is going to be. You have no idea what your taxes are going to be. You can't even begin to guess what your required minimum distributions are going to be. And forget you sitting down and taking those numbers and throwing it in an Excel spreadsheet. That's a pain in the butt. If you sit down with us, if you make an appointment, there's a link on the screen there. You can go to book an appointment directly with us. We will do that for you anywhere in the continental United States. We will build a plan for you. You'll sit down and one of our certified financial planners will build a financial plan for you. We don't charge anything for it. We build that plan for you and we show you how much you have. We show you what your future tax liability is going to be. You know, that couple I just met with, they had no idea they were going to be thrown in the 24% tax bracket. That couple this week, they were in the 22%. They're in the 22% tax bracket right now, but because they save so much money, they're going to be forced into the 24% tax bracket. Another gentleman I'm meeting with right after this recording, young man, he's going to go into the plus 30% tax bracket because he's saved so much money. Now, he's going to work with me and we're going to reverse that. We're going to save him over $1 million in taxes by doing those conversions. And it's amazing to me. There are a lot of people out there in their early 60s and they've been very successful and they've gone from job to job to job and they have all these 401ks out there. We have a great quiz. We call it everythingrothquiz.com. Again, that's just making sure I'm saying this right. Everythingrothquiz.com. You can go there and maybe that's your first step. Maybe you aren't ready to book an appointment with us. That's fine. We have these tax calculators built for you to go in there, get all your statements together, have them ready to go, and you're just going to take the values, you're going to stick them into that calculator. And that calculator is going to show you how much tax you could be paying in retirement and how much tax we might be able to save you. And you don't even have to talk to us. It's just an easy way to take that first step so that you can start to see, I feel like it's a way to take a first step to see that you might have a problem. And that problem is taxes. And we want to try to help you with that problem. The only way to fix a problem is to admit you have a problem. And these calculators will help you realize that you have that problem. All
right. Okay. So, Joe, I think I have a Roth problem. So how long is it going to take me to figure out how much of a problem I have with this quiz?
3, 4, 5 minutes. I mean, these are quick quizzes. This isn't hours of work. You know, the first step, you do that. Take that quiz. Second step is we can have a meeting. In a half an hour, Doug, I can show you how much tax you're going to pay, how much tax we can save you, and if you can retire. And it's amazing. The last 3 or 4 people I've talked to, they wanted to retire in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I'm getting them to retire right now, as in the next couple weeks.
Wow.
As in they don't have to work for another year or 24 months or 36 months or 48 months. They can retire now. And actually, it behooves them. It's better for them to retire now versus continuing to work. Continuing to work, the only reason they would want to continue to work, or the only reason I would recommend that they continue to work, is if they love what they're doing and they get up every day and they're excited and they're pumped and they can't wait to go into the office. If that's you, it still would be a good idea for us to sit down and build a plan because we can start saving you taxes now for the future. But if you're going to work and you're like, I'm just not motivated as much anymore. And I keep hearing, I need millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. I am so tired every day in my news feed. You know, if you're over 50, are you in the top 10% of savers? And if you're 60, here's how much money you should have in your 401k. And how much money do you need to... There's no one size fits all. There isn't. Doesn't work. I'm not going to tell you how much money everybody needs. But if you click the link, if you go and you set up a meeting with us, then we can tell you directly to your face. We can say, hey, you got enough and you can retire. And you came to us at the lowest tax rates, the highest standard deductions. You came to us at a time where we can make a gigantic difference. You know, in 4 years from now, we may not have the same tax codes. It could change. I'm not saying it's gonna, but it could. And if it does, I won't be able to work the same amount of magic that we can do right now. Right now is an amazing time. So if you're in your late 50s and you're thinking, can I retire? Let us figure that out for you. Why not? What do you have to lose? A half an hour of your time? Please, you sit on your phone for a half an hour every day and waste time. At least this half an hour, you're going to learn a lot and you're going to see maybe I could be paying less taxes, earning more income, and creating a legacy I never thought possible.
Sounds good to me. Yeah. Yeah. That pregnant pause. Yes. Think about it. Sink it in. So
you need those pauses. We can't just be talking the whole time. So yeah, we want to declutter. If you have a lot of different accounts, if you're that person out there, you've worked at different jobs, let's consolidate them into an IRA. There is nothing wrong with moving your money from a 401k to a self-directed IRA. There's nothing wrong with that. And I hear people all the time, well, I don't have a lot of fees in my 401k. Yeah, you may have higher fees than you expect, but you're not going to have a lot of fees in an IRA either. So you can't say that. And you know what? Your 401k, I'm here to tell you, your investments probably suck. That's what I see. I see these 401ks and their investments. I've seen some that are just awful. If you're in the Life Strategies Fund or the 2028 Fund or the 2050 Fund, they're just not great investments. There are better investments out there. And when you're in that 401k, you get whatever's in column A. That's it. These 10 mutual funds or these 30 mutual funds. When you have your own self-directed IRA, you have the entire world, the entire universe of investments at your disposal. And why not have more options instead of less? I don't know, Doug. And then why not know what you have so that you can plan, so you know either, hey, I can retire early, or I need to do a little bit of extra work, but if I do that work, I get to retire at this date in the future. It's just nice to know. Again, it goes back, the more you know.
So with the 401k, I've signed up for multiple over my career, and it's confusing to sign up. And you're just talking about different parts of the 401k. All right. So what I'm getting to is I have multiple 401ks, but consolidating them all into an IRA, could that overall make you more money if you have better investments with that? Do you understand what I'm saying with this?
I mean, it's going to make your life easier. And who doesn't want an easier life? Yeah. Nobody's ever come to me and said, Joe, my goal for our meeting today is for you to complicate my life even further. It's never happened. Everybody wants an easier life. So instead of trying to remember all the different places you have all this money, put it into one account. Pick a brokerage account, roll it into the custodian of your choice, make sure it goes into an IRA because you don't want to move a 401k into a non-IRA because then you get taxed. And then life is easier. Do you make more money? If you have 10 $10,000 accounts all invested in the same investments, it doesn't matter if they're 10 accounts or one account, they all make the same amount of money.
All right.
But if you have terrible investment options, or, maybe you only looked at your investment options once. Maybe you've never gone back and checked them again. Heck, maybe you put 30 or 40% into cash. I've seen just some wild allocations inside 401ks that people didn't even know they had that set up in their 401k. So yeah, you could make a lot more money because you might have better choices. You might have better investments. You might have lower fees. You might just have a plan. And I think that people are most successful when they have a plan. Can you imagine trying to build a house without a blueprint? Just if everybody showed up to the work site and there was just a pile of lumber and everybody just started doing whatever they wanted to do. I mean, you wouldn't have a house. You'd have a hodgepodge of, separate structures on your foundation. If you even had a foundation, you might even have a foundation. So there's nothing in our lives. Can you imagine if a surgeon had no idea what they were doing and just started cutting a part of your body because they didn't know where the issue was? Every job you do, you have a plan of attack. You think about it ahead of time, you organize your thoughts, you prepare, you go into action. But the most important part, your entire retirement, most of you out there don't have a plan. And you may have millions of dollars sitting in retirement accounts and you never put a plan together. Maybe you didn't know how to do it. Maybe you didn't know what the first step was. It's making an appointment and letting us build that plan for you. We're not going to charge you for the plan. And if you don't want to do that, it's going to one of our quizzes. The one we talked about today was everythingrothquiz.com. We have other ones, but that's a great place to start because I am a big proponent of lowering taxes. My job for every one of my clients is I want to reduce the risk in their portfolio. I want the risk in their portfolio to be commensurate with the returns that they need. I don't want to add risk for no reason, so lower the risk in the portfolio. I want to lower the taxes overall. I want you to pay less taxes. It's that simple. I'm going to show you the most efficient way to pay less taxes over your life. I want to create an income stream for you for the rest of your life. I'm going to show it to you. In my plan, I can show you every single month going forward how much income you're going to have. And we can do that in just a few minutes on a Zoom. You give us the information, we give it back to you, and you will leave that meeting happier than ever before, and you'll feel more prepared. And I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to stop my sales right there.
All right.
Because we have more to talk about.
Yeah, you want to talk about some more stuff? Well, I did want to bring up something to you real quick. I saw the other day that gold is higher than it's ever been before. And I thought, well, for one, gold's not on the stock market, is it?
No. It's not a traded stock, but you can buy gold ETFs, gold mutual funds, or you can buy gold itself. There's different ways you can acquire gold, but it's not a publicly traded stock. No, it's a precious metal.
Okay.
That only has value if we say it has value, just like the US dollar, but that's a whole different topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, gold is at an all-time high. Gold has just been crushing it over the last year and a half, I'd say, maybe 2 years. And this is what happens with gold. It hits highs, and I'm not saying it's going to do this, but every other time gold has hit a high, it's bottomed out afterwards. So this time it could be different. But when I look at gold, I don't want anybody out there to throw their entire portfolio into gold. I don't want anybody out there to throw their entire portfolio into anything, because too much is too much. That's why it's too much. So everything in moderation. So maybe if you want gold as a part of your portfolio, is it too late? I don't know. I don't know where gold will go. But, a great place you could maybe use gold, maybe as an emergency fund.
Emergency fund for gold.
Yeah.
I thought that cash was best for an emergency fund. Maybe a money market.
The only reason you would say cash is best for an emergency fund, I think, is so that it's accessible. So would I want you to take your cash, buy gold bars, and stick them in your drawer for an emergency fund? No, because you can't liquidate that gold bar quickly. And if you need to liquidate quickly, you're not going to get top dollar. What I'm saying is maybe you use gold as an investment inside your emergency fund. Not all of it, but maybe a portion of it, An emergency fund is something we should have set aside somewhere that will cover 3 to 6 months of our living expenses. So if it costs $5,000 a month for you to survive or to be okay, then you should have $15,000 to $30,000 sitting somewhere. Do I want it sitting in a checking account? Nah. Do I want it sitting in a money market account? Maybe if it's paying significantly higher than inflation rates. I like to put my emergency funds into Roth accounts because a Roth account is accessible and it grows tax-free. And it's probably outperforming your checking or your money market account. And you can get at it pretty quickly. My clients can get at their Roth accounts in less than 2 days. And there's no penalty to pull the money out to spend it. And inside that Roth account, you could invest some of it in gold. Why not? Not all of it. Again, everything in moderation, but it could work. That would be a place I would be okay putting money is in that gold account. Now, I wouldn't want to put all of it in because, like I said, what we see gold go up and then we see it crash. That could hurt if you put everything in there. But a portion of it could pay off in the long run.
My biggest concern with gold in an emergency fund is the being able to get to that in the time I need it. So
that's why you wouldn't buy the gold. You would have a gold fund.
Okay.
So a gold fund will trade like a stock or a gold ETF. A fund that owns gold or tracks gold that is just as liquid, that can be sold any day that the market's open, takes 2 days to clear, and you have your cash. That's what I'm talking about. And you're not going to get hammered necessarily because you want to sell it. You'll get whatever the price is that day. But if you go into a pawn shop with gold and you're all nervous and you need to sell it, they're going to lowball you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to get anywhere near what it's worth, unfortunately.
So what do you think about maybe silver or platinum? Is that a good alternative as well?
Precious metals are precious metals. They have not been my favorite long-term performers. They get hot. They have their hot streaks. And they're volatile. They're very volatile. I've not been, I know it's done well. I know it has, but so has the NASDAQ. So have tax funds, so have growth funds. They've all done well. And they're not nearly as volatile as gold or silver or platinum. So if I look at a 20-year time frame, where would I rather have my clients' money long-term? In the stock market, in low-cost, high-performing ETFs. That's where I'd rather it be. But I have those people who just become gold-centric, and they just want to buy gold, and they want to talk about how great gold's done over the last multiple years. Yeah, but that's recently, and it's volatile. And I don't like large portions of my client's portfolio in volatile assets. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. So that's not for me. So
yeah. Well, I mean, you don't want volatility, especially if you're thinking about retirement. I don't even know how I would figure out my volatility. And in my portfolio. I mean, I'd leave that up to you.
Well, we have a quiz for that, Doug.
Really?
Yes, Doug, we do. We have a volatility quiz. It's called everythingriskquiz.com. So like the Roth one, this one just tells you, do you have too much volatility in your portfolio? Again, 3 to 4 minute quiz. You get in there, you do it, you get an answer, and maybe you go, hey, I want to talk to somebody. It's a great way for you to become a part of the Sequinox family. That's what I want from my listeners. I want my listeners to have a successful retirement. I want you to pay less tax. I want you to have more fun. I love when I set my clients up for retirement and they know this is how much we get to spend every month. And we know we can increase that. We know we can spend a little bit more. We know if we have a question about anything financial, we can reach out to the people at Sequinox and they can give us solid advice based on their portfolio. And they're not going to be at an 800 number. They're not going to call in and talk to somebody different every single time. They're not going to call in and get a voicemail and get some automated system. We are a real company. We've been around for 26 years, and we love working with our clients to give them more income, less taxes, and bigger estates than they ever thought possible. And to demystify what can be a very confusing topic. We're going to make it simple for you. We're going to take all those different accounts that you have floating all around. We're going to consolidate it down. Consolidation doesn't mean all your eggs in one basket. That's not what that means. It just means that you understand things better because you have a consolidated statement. You can see what you have. You can track it with online tools, so you can always watch how we're performing. Are we doing what we said we're going to do for you? And the first step is making that appointment, sitting down with us via Zoom, talking to us, like actually a one-on-one conversation about your particular topic. If you don't want to do that, you have the quizzes, everythingrothquiz.com, everythingriskquiz.com. You can go to those websites, take that first step. Second step, you book an appointment with us. Third step is we give you that plan, and then we let you decide what you want to do with that plan. If you decide you love the plan, you want us to implement it, the next step is we implement that plan for you. And our average client pays less than 1% of the overall investments that we manage. That's what we do. We are a fee-based planner. We're fiduciaries. We're here for you. Every single week, we are here. Doug and I are tackling the most up-to-date issues, what's going on in the economy. We're cutting through the BS. We're cutting through the jargon. We're giving you the information you need to have that successful retirement. So what I need from you, I need you to hit that subscribe button. That helps the channel grow. That helps get this message out to more people. And if you hit the subscribe button, you got to hit that notification bell, because that will tell you when we post a new video. YouTube will say, hey, Everything They Never Told You Retirement is posting a new video. Then you can make sure you watch it. And then make a comment. Leave a comment down below. Negative, positive, I don't care. I love the comments. I read them all. And you can make suggestions for future shows. So you subscribe, you hit that notification bell, you leave that comment, and that ensures that when we come out with our show next week, you're ready, you're there, and you get to be the first people to watch it. And that means that you will be prepared for a better retirement. So as always, thank you for watching. Check out some of our other content, and we'll see you next week.